For those who don't know, some people know, just a kind of potted history of how you two in particular got together, and then how you hatched the show and worked on the look of it, and just how it came to be.
Well, I wrote on a thing that wasn't very good years ago called You Are Here. It was a thing with David Williams, Matt Lucas, and you were in it, weren't you? Do you remember?
Yeah.
And we bonded over a thing we used to do when we get together in the evening, which we called Pot Club. Well, because we've always loved, clay and working with our hands. And in the day we were filming, there was no time. We were very tired, but while we were making these urns, we became buddies, didn't we? We became new third best friends.
Yeah.
And then we hung around a lot, and we realised we kind of liked similar things, and we sort of just used to hang out, didn't we? And just sit in your room.
And Robert at the time was working at ITV, who had all this.
Oh, Granada,
rather, and had all this access to all their archives of all these old educational programs that we grew up watching, terrified as kids. But from the perspective of my front room and a spliff. And
working with an urn
and an urn, yes. We just found them just hilarious and fascinating, and we thought, why don't we make?
Yeah, and we suddenly thought, we should make it like a learning program, and we thought, well, let's do one on calcium for some reason. Let's make the world's first comedy about calcium, but done like a scores program. And we started writing it, and then Peter said, "Hey, I know this man here, Tim, all right."
Right.
Who's a brilliant director, and he is, isn't he? I mean, it's pretty good, wasn't it? It was, wasn't it? Come on. And so we went off and made Calcium, a short film, and which was fun, and then the rest is
very nearly history.
Very nearly history.
So the short film, so that wasn't made. Was that made? You funded that yourself? You already had a broadcaster, or you just put it together?
We just did it for fun, really, didn't we? We just made it for free. With like loads of our old crew members that are in here as well who worked on it. Thank you very much. Never got paid, and we just sort of did it for nothing, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it was just paid for by, I think it was paid for by you, wasn't it, Pete?
And me.
And Robert.
He quickly chips in.
Yeah, that's it.
So
but
Tim, were you part of this, the soon-to-be legendary Pot Club, or were you brought in from outside? I mean, you had the same sensibility?
Yeah, I mean, I was a friend of Pete's. We kind of used to hang out, didn't we? And I was just getting into directing. I'd done a couple of short films. And then, I guess, it was just nights around yours watching physics in action, experiment, and just these old kind of, educational programs, and thought, this is great. And, I guess Calcium was 22 minutes, which is really, that's, for the purists, that's what Look Around You was. And then when the commission came for 10 minutes, I think initially we were a little bit disappointed because it was like, no, it has to be 25 minutes.
You needed 22 minutes
Absolutely,
to say what you had to say about Calcium.
Totally, yeah. I mean, Calcium is sort of, I mean, that's, yeah. And then you guys sort of went away and sort of thought it would actually work really nicely in 10 minutes. And it does.
And I suppose, we wanted to try and pack as many different jokes into the, I mean, because it's like really like 9 minutes, isn't it, each episode, try and pack as many jokes in as we could, but while keeping that totally detached, spooky vibe of it.
Because what I noticed about it, and this is obviously Tim as well, is the fact that it's obviously, you have a love for that which you're not the target, but the kind of the subject matter in a way, and the style, the grammar, the pace of the programs they're based on. So they're not hectic. I mean, they all very much reflect that pace. How accurate are they? Did you really study them that intensely? I mean, I noticed some of the shots, like with your head being cropped off, people, and that kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, that was all part of the grammar, really. I mean, it really helped Robert being at Granada because Robert had access to
I did no work there. They had the most amazing facilities.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I don't know what program they thought was developing. It was like, get just these things from recordings from a pub from the 1970s.
Yeah, I've still got the source tape, actually, which is 3 hours long.
We could just watch
and
it
in
now.
episode, I think it's episode 3, Germs, where Ashley Swain coughs. Yeah. That was actually an experiment.
There was one good bit we saw.
Dirty old bit of archive, and just thought, that's amazing.
Do you remember the bit? It was a program about the nerve system, and it had a model of like a body made out of nerves. Do you remember? Anyway.
Yeah, it was a baby, wasn't it?
What it said. Go on.
Yeah, it It was this is the nervous system of a baby boy. Look there, you can see its little penis, like its veins, you know. You know, there were such weird things like, remember there was one about hygiene where a woman was making a ham sandwich and she just placed a slice of ham just directly onto the kitchen surface. and we just like that thing of, you know, when they made programs for kids then and trying to teach them about life, they didn't have the idea of why don't we make it entertaining. They just thought, let's make it fucking terrifying.
Have you ever met anyone who actually was responsible for making the originals?
Jack
Have they
Smith.
ever come forward?
No, the legend Jack Smith. I mean, he was the guy who used to write them, I guess, didn't he?
Yeah, he's this guy, Jack Smith. We watched a lot of his,
Yeah.
quite a lot of his, well, sort of.
Yeah,
quite
he
a
did
lot.
one. He did one about. We've got a sort of recurring theme about birds and how the narrator doesn't like birds, and we saw this one Jack Smith program about birds that had no bird song in it at all. It was just silent footage of birds and this guy's voice.
Quite a masterpiece in its own
was.
way.
Oh,
though.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, definitely.
But the way we shot them, really, we just thought, you know, they didn't have much money to make them. They shot them on film,
Yeah,
and every shot is just for information the whole time. So if we just did that
yeah.
and just shoot it and, you know, don't try and make anything funny.
1 or 2 takes. That's it.
That's
You know,
it,
that's
yeah.
what they would have done.
Yeah.
It's like, how would they have done this? You know, if it's like you have to, and shooting on film as well was hard. You know, that in the sense that, you know, we were pressured to shoot video and make it look like
Yeah, that's
film,
what they
but
said. They
no
said no
way. You
film.
know, you need the sort of romance of shooting film.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, the pace of these old shows was like, that's like what we've just seen there.
Yeah.
That's like watching the Bourne Ultimatum
Yeah,
compared to
definitely. Yeah,
the
you're
real
right, you're
ones,
right.
you know.
You're right.
And we tried to, within that sort of dryness, tried to get as many jokes in as we could and as many different types of jokes. I mean, you mentioned the, you know, me doing the experiments and having my head cut off. That was the thing that we saw in these old shows, but it was also, I think, subconsciously a reference to Police Squad, which I'm a huge fan of Police Squad, and that was a show as well that had lots of little background jokes and thrown away wordplay things.
Well, did people at the time, how well received? Because I get the feeling they've very much got a big audience now because
It's
the
definitely
internet's
grown.
saying
Oh,
it's
it was
YouTube.
the biggest. I mean, it was the biggest show on.
Was it the biggest show on TV?
But it was weirdly
The figures were,
anticlimactic,
it was
actually.
Coronation Street, of course, when we were there.
Did it register on the figure?
No.
It was sort of between 17 and 18 million an episode.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be, isn't it? With a show like that everyone can
I mean,
relate
to
to.
be honest, it didn't at all. It didn't. They showed it.
Well, it did actually.
Did
rate,
it?
Yeah, it was.
I imagine
did
it
get seen
grew,
like by
or-
like 1 million, 2 million. It was like 2 million then, which was good. It was like
Yeah, which then I suppose was pretty
weird. It
good.
was like on at 10 to 10 or
Yeah,
9:30.
I think
really
it went
good time.
out.
On what, on BBC Two, yeah?
BBC
Yeah,
Two,
I think it went out before League of Gentlemen Series 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, but everyone talked about League of Gentlemen. It's like, did anyone see Look Around You? But the critics loved it. I mean, the newspapers really picked
And the
up on it.
money.
And the money. Jesus.
Still haven't finished counting the checks, have we? One thing that strikes me is you might think that, you know, people need to be familiar with that which you're kind of parodying, but I don't think that's the case, is it? Do you find people who haven't seen the original still get it, still understand and enjoy it?
Well, I think you know, a lot of kids have watched it and they get what it is. You know,
Yeah, they
it's
won't have seen them, but somehow it's almost innate that you know that's
Yeah.
what TV was like.
Mr. Important telling you this is how life is. You know, and I mean, because your kids watched it.
Well,
when
one's
they-
here now, and she loves it, and she definitely won't have seen that. I would have thought seen the originals, certainly, unless, I don't know.
Unless she's very weird.
Unless she's much older than I.
So older, yes, yeah.
Maybe she is a mine. Maybe she was there before me. I don't know. Of course, it span off, and then it became the longer form. We got the half-hour show later on, and that's a very different beast.
Yeah, because what we wanted when we did this, I mean, basically, I'd be quite happy just making these forever until I die. But they wouldn't let us. They said, "Oh, we've done 10 minutes, and we don't do 10-minute shows anymore. We're not doing them anymore." And we kept sort of saying, "Please." And they said no. I said please, And
So we were very forceful.
yeah, like that, looking down. And then about 2 years later, Mark Freeland, who's head of comedy in BBC, who's here. Where is he? He's somewhere. He's lovely. He said, would you like to do 30 minutes? And we were like, yeah, we'll do 30. But you've got to have people in it. We want humans. Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of, because I saw those first, and that very much has that Tomorrow's World feel, of course. And I suppose other shows, it's kind of almost like when you saw demos on kids' TV, like Magpie and Blue Peter as well.
Yeah.
Was that a given? That was kind of immediately what you reached for, or were there other ideas for the 30 minutes you discarded?
No, because originally we were thinking of maybe doing like a learning zone, didn't we? Of like doing bits, different bits. But then we thought we didn't know what, if people knew if that, you could relate to what that was if they had that then. And then we thought, what did we think? Tomorrow's World.
And then, Tomorrow's World seemed like the sort of natural thing, and we watched that, and that was we watched a load of those Tomorrow's World, and remembered a different sort of fondness for that kind of Thursday night of watching, what was it? It was Tomorrow's World was on at 7, and then Top of the Pops, so you had to sort of endure Tomorrow's World, hoping there was going to be something like about the space shuttle or a robot or something.
But it was always burglar alarms.
It was always burglar alarms, yeah.
So you kind of made the Tomorrow's World you wanted to see.
I suppose. And then we tried to, because we loved the second series, but also we kind of, I don't know, there are still bits that we're really sort of dissatisfied with, and we kept that very dry tone with the presenters. And I just wish we'd had more jokes in it. I just
Sorry.
wish
Well, how did you describe Prince Charles in these series?
Sir Prince Charles.
Sir Prince Charles. Was it Lord Sir Prince Charles or just Sir Prince
Just
Charles?
Sir.
Sir Prince Charles. And that was so perfect, because the whole idea of kowtowing to royalty in BBC shows of that period and making such a huge deal of it was perfectly observed, I thought. And once again, something you planned, something you wanted to do, or really you were...
Well, in a sense, the second series was all built around this clip that we had of Prince Charles on Tomorrow's World presenting he would present the Inventor of the Year award on Tomorrow's World, and we looked at this clip and we thought, wow, we could cut him out of that.
White.
He was on white, and it looked quite easy for us to put into our show.
That sixth episode was live. Well, it was live.
Yeah.
It's a live episode, so that kind of worked as well.
Yeah, well, I think we...
You didn't make it live, though. You shot
No.
it and then...
No.
Yeah, we did.
We watched it live.
Yeah, we watched it live.
So that was the thing that sort of...
So that inspired that idea. And so then you built the whole series, knowing you were going towards the competition.
We just love the idea of like having, if you've seen it, Sir Prince Charles actually in the studio interacting with people, and then when you have him shaking hands and where he says marvelous, we change it to Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov, yeah. and it keeps building up to it, and you think, you keep thinking, oh, they're not going to have Prince Charles. It's like going to be one of those let-down jokes. And then we've got him from like 1980, and he's...
So what's the future for Look? Is there a future for Look Around You? Is this it, or are you just going to keep peddling the same tired old films again and again?
Mark Freeland from BBC is about to announce our third fourth and fifth series commission. Thank you so much.
You're taking over BBC 4.
No, I don't think we're not. They didn't ask for more, so it'd be a bit weird if they
But
a gap of.
But I get the
5
feeling
years.
you have an affection for it, and you would like maybe to do more.
Yeah, I think we want to make this weird film set in, whether it would be like a Look Around You film but something set in that weird 70s world that we love to
But this would be
inhabit,
very
you know?
different then. I guess this would have a narrative and characters that we follow through in a very different way of watching. Or would it be lots of 10-minute TV shows stitched together?
I don't know. We wanted to have
haven't talked about
adverts.
You haven't
in
really
it.
talked about this, have you?
No, this is all new. No. We have talked about it a little bit. Yeah, we'd do something mental, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
something weird, I guess.
Something weird we were thinking about like a film that God had made in the 70s, but that was locked in a vault and has only now been deemed, audiences are only now advanced enough to watch this film, and that was a sort of a That was a sort of,
God couldn't get a distributor. Is that what happened?
well, what did we? Who's that guy who made King Kong?
The new one, Peter Jackson.
No, the 1970s.
Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah, when he died last year, and we were thinking maybe Dino De Laurentiis
Commissioned God.
and then he finally did the deal with God to release this film.
Well, if anyone would have, he would have. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So look out for that one.
Yeah. That's the high concept behind it, but the nuts and bolts you're still wrestling with.
Yeah.
You know, we have talked about. We just haven't worked out any ideas.
That-
But no, we would love to do something. We'd love to do a film.